content of this channel is for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised. You're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification button. And please, feel free to share the video. Thank you. What's good, everybody? I'm GG, man. You tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. It's the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, with no chasers, man. And I just want to say shout out to all the haters out there, man, as I always do before I even get things started. If I get things started, man, because I'm having some technical difficulties over here, man. But shout out to the haters, man. I hope y'all having a good afternoon, man. And regardless as to what happens, man, make sure you hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button so you can stay tuned to what's going on here on the Green Gorilla channel. And let me cut the chase, man, because let me cut the chase right now, man. All right, I have a show planned for y'all tonight, but first and foremost, the host is having technical difficulties, meaning me, because my internet is acting a fool. It just, for some reason, I can't keep a stable connection, and I might have to do this at another time, and I apologize for that. And also, the host is having technical difficulties because they've never used StreamYard before, so they don't know how to get into the stream. So what I am about to do is just to give a shout out to all the people, man, who always support me. And if she calls within a couple of minutes, man, I'll try to find a way to make sure she can get in here. So anyway, let me give a shout out to An Honest Look at the End, John J, Afro National, Sherlyn Woe, Ricky Dawson, Stefan, Julius Ferguson, Lord Hamal, True 7360, Mr. Me Too, Call for President, I'm Just Jules, Broken Blade, Leading from the Back, J. Cleveland Green, Brotherly Love 215, Gold Professor, Seven Coast Dojo, Lee Ways, AKs and Curtains, H-Town, Rogish the Buildmonger, BD Main, Adrian Thomas, Electrician 480, Gabinga, Cutting Up with the Jones, Zanko 1, D. Scott, Path Guy 74, Black Swerve 404, Pete Rock 496, Tahuti of New Comet, Aaron Peters, Barnolas, Dardar, Michael Ross, Vincent Lindsay, Michael Pierce, Beautiful Trauma, Quiz the Poet, Black Quizit 80OS, Jazz Tech, Shadow Observer, Sugar T, Artisan MC, Nasiana, Kyle J. Sura, Kareen, Troy Warren, Jeff R., Mrs. KP Bailey, Alan Wiley, The Face, Mantis on Break, Life of Commerce, Dreamlit, A. Wilson's Ghost, Timothy Blewett, Jeffrey Speed, Marvin Battle Jr., Mark Hope, Afro Troop TV, Adam, BGS Ibmore, Ignatz Mouse, Brian Peaks, Papa Didas, Scott Haywood, Black Uru Strikes, Dr. Tree, Leroy Honeycutt, Super Tech, 77 Base X, Brian McMurray, Karen S., Anthony Davis, Charles Rogers, Rick Ross, Sandra Jean, Charles Gilmore, Patricia Colley, Greg, Barry Little, Mr. Valentino, Jason Hales, Black Men Being Brutally Honest, Cameron 87, Doc LaRock, Mark Swift, Odd Collar, Donald Watts, Coach Hotep, Old Soul Chief, Mr. Blue Collar, TD Hip Hop Media, Drew Main, Mr. Heat, Sir Anthony, and that's as far as I can go because my internet has basically stopped working, man. My internet is not acting right, so I'm trying to get things popping off here, but for some reason my internet has got a connection, but it won't do, I can't open up any pages, I can't access any websites, and that's an issue. So I might have to postpone this, and I apologize for that until I can figure out what's going on with my internet. I called Optimum Cable today, and you know, basically I was like, man, whoever it is that I have to communicate with, let me know so I can get this situation rectified. Uh-oh, we got the host right here. So let me get her cracking. She's come in. Let me see. But I am having technical difficulties. Hello, can you hear me?
Hi,
Hey, what's going on? How are you?
I- I'm good. I'm trying to get the
I see you
volume
got
up.
in. At first, I didn't think you was gonna make it,
Man, me too.
but you found your way in, huh? But I'm having technical difficulties myself because my internet is not really acting like it should. But since we got some sort of connection, we'll just move on and proceed from where we are now. Okay?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I, you're really faint.
Okay, so you're gonna have to turn up the volume on your phone if that's
Mine
what
is
you're.
high.
Okay, so yeah, I'm about as loud as I can get. Can you hear me? Can you hear me at all?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you're
Okay.
faint.
Okay, well, for the most part, I'm going. Can people out there in the audience hear me? Can if you can hear me, put a one in the chat. If you can hear me, and I'm coming in loud and clear, because typically, people they say I'm coming in loud and clear. So, uh,
Okay.
if you can hear me, put a one in the chat. And I'm having tech for some reason. My internet, I had to call the internet. Yeah, they're all saying a whole host of people, and it ain't a lot of people in here tonight. But the people who are here say they can hear me loud and clear. So uh, maybe you want to turn up the volume on StreamYard connected to your phone. That might be the issue. You might want to look into that. She's
I'm
like,
not tech savvy at all.
see, somebody help her here. Help me help her. What can she do to get a louder signal? They say she has an echo. We're gonna have to deal with the echo. There's no way around it. Because I don't hear an echo from her. I do not hear any echo whatsoever. Sorry about that, Zadiku. But anyway, let's just get into what we can do. Okay, if you can hear me at all, can you discern what I'm saying right now?
Yes.
Okay, so look, we many people don't even know the story of Orlando Harris at all. They're not from the St. Louis area. This story really hasn't gotten or received that much multinational media attention.
Right.
So if you can, give us the background story of Orlando Harris. And then after that, I'm going to get into your background because you are a teacher in the St. Louis school public system, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And not only that, I then want to ask you a question of how this situation came to your awareness and you got involved in the manner in which you did. Because I've seen that you've written several pieces about this issue. And not only that, you've also been covered in the press for your teaching efforts, right?
Right.
So I've seen this before. So right now, my guest, her name is Marshata Caradine. I guess she calls herself Marty for short.
Yes.
Okay. She is a teacher from the St. Louis public school system. Okay. And just give us some background about Orlando Harris.
Well, Orlando Harris was a student in the St. Louis Public School District. He went to the Central Visual Performing Arts School, and I didn't have him specifically in a class, but I've had more than my share of Orlando Harris's. And he graduated last year, they said, and he came back to the school, which should really speak volumes, and did this unthinkable act. And if it's revenge, if it was the rage, I don't know what it was, but I kind of got a general idea because I'm teaching in this lion's den as well, and it's heavy, So it was just a young man that should not have gone to that extent if he had the needed clinicians and the resources inside the school as well as his family.
So this is about a young black boy. Okay.
Yes.
He was 19 years old, from what I understand, at the time. when all of this took place. Now, how long ago was it when it took place?
It was it October the 25th, 24th, 25th.
So it wasn't that long ago. This
No.
is a relatively recent event.
Yes.
Okay, and I mean, for the most part, everybody says from my research on the issue, and I admit I haven't done a lot of research on the issue, okay? But from what I understand, he was in middle school. Everybody says he was a sweet boy. He was eager to please people, but then some other things led to a transformation in his character. I also understand that he was a musician at one point in time. He was a drummer, okay? And he loved to participate in the drum line in the school where he was in middle school, okay? I also hear that he was a quiet boy. He was a shy boy. He didn't have a lot of friends, but he did have a close-knit group of good friends in middle school, okay? But then what happened from my research on this issue is that when he got a little bit older and he matriculated into adolescence and puberty, he began to be bullied. And that, that really manifested when he entered into high school, okay?
Right.
And we don't know exactly what made him act out, but one could argue one of the things that maybe had him act out was the fact that he was bullied, okay?
Right.
And we all know the city of St. Louis. I mean, it's, especially with a school, like we used to call it VAP, Central Performing Arts. I think that's what we used to call it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
VAP, Visual and Performing Arts, okay? Where's the school, where's the Central School for Performing Arts right now?
It's in the Hill area.
So it used to, because when I was coming, okay, so I'm a fellow St. Louis, and just so you know, I'm from Northside St. Louis, okay? If I would have went to a public school, I would have went to Beaumont. That would have been the high school I went to. My mother graduated from Beaumont. My uncle graduated from Beaumont, okay? Now, they graduated from Beaumont when Beaumont was a primarily white high school.
Okay.
Okay, so I was born and raised in Northside St. Louis, though, and I graduated from high school in '89. So but I didn't go to Beaumont High School. I went to an elite white boy high school. I went to CBC, okay? But I know what bullying is like. I lived in a neighborhood full of bullies. I grew up on Kossuth and Fair. You know where that is? Near Fairground Park. You know what Fairground Park is? Well, you from East St. Louis, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay. Well, Northside St. Louis is no joke, okay? The boys there, they smoke weed, 14, 15 years old. Not to say that I wasn't doing some goofy stuff when I was 14 or 15, but these guys, the poverty, the conditions, the social environment, many of these boys' parents, and these girls' parents as well, for that matter, aren't highly educated. A lot of them are drug addicts. You know this. And a lot of them have problems keeping their children in line and disciplining their children because they can't even discipline themselves. So how can you discipline your child if you can't discipline yourself or you don't possess discipline at all? Okay, now I'm not blaming these people, but what I am saying is these are the social conditions that pertain or that obtain in the city of St. Louis, especially in urban areas. Okay, so he was a cool little dude until he reached adolescence, and then that's when all the problems started. Okay, from what I understand, also he was diagnosed with a mental illness. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know anything about that, but I heard that like at, let's say 11, he lost his mom. At 13, he lost his dad.
Oh wow! Now see, those are some things I did not know. Okay.
Exactly. So it's good. It's easy to say mental illness when I'm actually grieving,
Right. Right.
but we don't. Our kids don't attend school where they are allowed to grieve. When this happened, superintendent the first day was saying that we were going to get the school open as quick as possible, and I'm thinking, can we bury them first? So if that you're the superintendent and you coming out that strong and that's what you're thinking about, we all know they're not concerned about the kids' mental health then.
Exactly. I
So
mean,
what you're calling mental illness, it could be something as grief. How do I deal with just not having my mom and my dad? I don't know how they passed,
right. But I
but
mean, first,
let's discuss that.
yeah, losing a parent. I lost my mother when I was in my mid 40s, and it was heartbreaking for me.
Right.
Because for many, black children, their mother is all they have. Now, I exist in a space called the manosphere, okay, the black manosphere,
Hmm.
and a lot of times we can be harsh on women, okay, but whatever the case may be, whatever the social conditions are that gave rise to single parent families and the absence of fathers and things of this nature, it's tragic to lose your mother, okay,
Right.
and so this boy lost his mother. But we don't know how his mother treated him. We don't know how actively she was involved in his life. We don't know his father or how actively he was involved in his life. But I know to lose your mother and your father, that's tragic. And this boy wasn't even 19 years old.
But and when I hear things like that, I'm always reminded that nothing is new under the sun. But what's new is the paradigm shift of educators. I mean, because we had the world up against us, but when we went to school, we were told what we can become, who we were. Our children don't really have that today. And the teachers today don't have to have a relationship with our kids or their parents or the community. And that's a big issue because once you build a relationship with them, they will bring all their heaviness, but know that they have a safe space with you, and like I said at the beginning, to graduate and come back to do that, we got to look at what's going on inside these schools.
Yeah,
And we're
because
not.
what? Yeah, because the question then becomes, why would you go to the school in order to deal with your depression? Why would the school become a site of resentment? That's, I
I
mean,
mean, and
instead of the school being, as you say it should be, a safe space for children to learn and to be nurtured into believing that they could be somebody,
right.
as opposed to going to school and having to, dot I's and cross T's and to, have you go in and out like you're going through a revolving door,
Yep.
right? And I can honestly say that in grade school, I didn't have that experience. In high school, I didn't have that experience. In college, I didn't have that experience. Neither did I have it in graduate school. I felt like I was always encouraged to succeed. I was never perceived as being, just a widget, just a seat, just a number or just a cog in a wheel. I always felt that I could do something, I could be something, just based on the cultural environment of the schools that I attended. Okay.
Hmm.
But this, one of the reasons why you came on the show, Nyota Uhuru, who's been on my show before, reached out to
Right.
me. And she said, man, it's this teacher from the city of St. Louis. And she wants to really actually have a discussion about Orlando Harris and the failure of the public school system in the city of St. Louis and elsewhere throughout the country, because I'm pretty sure that what's going on in St. Louis is not unique to St. Louis.
Oh no,
Okay.
no, it's not.
Okay. Now, what attracted you to this issue, and what made you feel like you had to say something about it? I mean, this is kind of off the beaten path of what we talk about on my channel, but I think it's important because a lot of times, guys in this space will say, well, women don't really give a shit about boys. Okay.
Right.
But you gave a damn about this boy enough to write an article about this boy and to raise a fuss about this boy. Okay?
Yeah.
So what drew you to the story, and why do you feel like you have a personal connection to it?
Because I was basically raising one of those angry boys, as a angry mama, and I felt a connection. And I knew I had to speak out on this young man, humanize this young man. It seems like when it comes to us, especially those of us in the inner cities, everybody has our answers, and everybody know what's dumped on us. So what I did is took my issues and and those Orlandos, and we're like best friends because I get it. I get their mom. I get it. And they are really in tune to listening to me because I am extremely transparent with the ordeal of raising a black son in the hood, and uh what they say, when you know better, you do better, and I like to humanize their mom. What mom want to look at their child and say, especially black son, and say, I can send you out of here and you'll never come back. So what do? We put up that wall. Now we bitter, now we angry. And some of us, like myself, I really felt like I was saving my son. The harsher I was, the better I felt. Because I know you ain't gonna go out here, you're afraid. But there comes a time when they're not afraid anymore. They ain't afraid of mama, they ain't afraid of what you gonna do, they're just not. And then I realized there's another way to this, and as a teacher, I purposefully want to be that other way, I'm sorry, the light went out.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, turn that joker back on if you keep
I
it like
go
it is if you
in
want.
looking for those Orlandos, and sometimes it's just a word, and it moved me because I get those babies all the time, and they don't deserve none of this stuff America gives us.
Okay,
And
now,
and I'm very one of those transparent, revolutionary kind of teachers, and I tell them the truth. I
well,
don't know
thank
how that
God for
works,
you.
but I do. So
Now,
it really touched me because I knew everybody, and rightfully so. Don't nobody right about now want to hear anything about him because of what he did. But my position is, I'm looking at how he got to that point, and after everybody turn your back on you, well, he got everybody talking about him now,
right.
and it's just sad all the way around. But this is how our black young men are treated inside of our schools, and they're just a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, we know that one of the things the
Oh,
school system
you want
is.
everybody to wake up and see that, because it really don't have to be this way.
Now,
So,
now, now, let me interrupt you right here. Um, One of the things you said was really important, and you said that
uh-huh.
you also have a black son.
Yeah,
Okay, and one of the ways that you feel as if you're protecting him is by being hard on him. Well,
right.
at least at some point, right?
Yes.
Especially during the formative years, the prepubescent years, it's
Hmm.
like I'm in control. I run this. You gonna do what I tell you to do, and you gonna act X, Y, and Z. If not, I'm gonna whip your ass, or whatever the case may be. Right? I mean,
Well,
let's
yeah, I said those things.
okay. And part of that is out of fear that your son is going to get involved in something that he can't find his way out of.
Right.
Because you already know if you from a place like St. Louis or East St. Louis, you know what's out there. You
Yep.
know it exists out there. You see it all day, every day. Look, I got a East St. Louis baby mama. Okay, so I done been over that. I done been over the bridge many times. Okay, I'm just letting you know. Okay, now I'm not
Uh-huh.
saying that in order to try to evoke some sort of sexist response, but I'm just saying I know East St. Louis as well. Okay, I know what it's like to drive there at night. I know what the city looks like aesthetically. I mean, just the way it looks. Our neighborhoods look like war zones.
Yep.
That's what they look like. Okay, we know it's guys dealing drugs. They're kind of aimless. They don't have hope that there's anything for them to be able to get involved in that's productive as they matriculate out of high school. So some of them just turn straight towards the street. Like this is what I have. This
Right.
is my opportunity. This is what's available to me. You understand what I mean? And
Yeah.
so as a mother, I can understand you trying to be overprotective in order to prevent their, seduction by some of the bad elements in the neighborhood, right?
Right.
But then, as you said, there comes a time when a boy turns 14, 15, 16 years old. What can mama tell him now? You're dealing with a biological baby that is matured into a man. Okay? So when a boy starts to grow hair on his genitals, I mean, you get what I'm saying. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
be ignorant by saying that, but when he starts to develop into a man, you can no longer be, ham-fisted with him.
Right.
That's not going to work. Because you can't beat him up. The only thing you can do is just to hope that whatever values you've instilled in him up to that point, he's going to hold on to and understand right from wrong. They call it home training, right?
Right.
But the problem is, and I think one of the biggest issues is, who are the teachers in the public school system that's teaching black kids in America anyway? What's the primary demographic? What's the demographic?
What'd you say? What did you say?
I said, what's the demographic? First
Oh,
and foremost,
they're majority white. I said the enemy while you was talking, but they're majority white.
so our kids are basically going to schools where most of the teachers are white. They don't live in the environments that these kids come from, so they really don't understand the culture, and they can't really understand their social economic reality. It's not something that they have to grapple with. For them, they're just going to school to teach. That's their job. And
Yep.
to them, and I'm pretty sure to them, it's something that they say, well, I'm giving as much as I can. I'm doing as much as I can. But the reality is you need more black teachers and you
Yep.
need more black male teachers.
I agree.
You need black male teachers. A whole bunch of white women. First of all, let me just say this. Look, I'm not here to be misogynistic, but I have to tell the truth. White women in the public school system are not equipped to handle the problems that black children have to deal with.
No.
They are
That's
not
why-
equipped. They don't have the practical experience in order to handle what's going on with these kids. And so what they end up doing is, in order to protect themselves while they're on the job, they create a prison within the school system.
That's what I was going to say. That's why they push those papers tough. Our kids are referred for everything, and once they give them those referrals and those suspensions, they are on their permanent records. That's why if you Google school to prison pipeline, black children from pre-K all the way up supersedes every other ethnic background. It's all African American.
And it's primarily black boys.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest about this. It's the
Yep.
black boys who are perceived as threats, who are perceived as ignorant, violent, unintelligent, incapable, regressive, scary, and the whole nine. And we've created a social condition. First of all, we don't pay teachers enough money for real, all across the board, even the white ones, I would assume. But the reality is, there is a recruitment problem for getting black men into the public school system to teach these kids and to provide some sort of discipline, just a presence.
Black women too, though.
Yeah. Okay. So make the case. So make the case. But before you do that, I want to shout out 77 Base X. I appreciate your contribution, sir. Appreciate that. What he had. Asshole, that's his name, his username. So, shout out to him. He says, "What up, Doc? Sending love and my little pest control dollars to the scholar." Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And also, I want to give a shout out to A. Wilson's Ghost. He says, "Overdue tuition payment." Thank you, gentlemen, for your donations. And look, this is not, what we normally talk about. But it is in the area, in the ballpark of what we normally talk about, because I don't like to talk about relationships very much, okay? So that's not the kind of thing that I really engage in when I do my show, right. For the most part. I talk about issues that are germane to black boys primarily, and men, okay? But what's the solution to the problem? What's the way to solve it? Put more
black teachers in there. This is what I tell people. They love, because I'm a substitute, so I'm hitting all the classrooms, right? So they love Marva Collins' books. They love anything she said, but they can't produce nothing Marva Collins did because they don't have Marva Collins' heart. It's a heart thing. It's not about degree, certification, professional development. They can keep all that, because clearly it is proven it don't work. Look at our kids. This is why our kids look, sound, and act so unfamiliar to our culture this day. Now, when I'm coming into the schools and you have more concern over my hoodie, because I'm wearing Black Lives Matter kind of hoodies, historical, whatever. Because my babies know when they see me, they're going to immediately go to their tablet to look it up, since I can't teach it. So why isn't there an issue with our kids learning who they are, so we can see something different, like the days of old? So I say black women because I'm always thinking about Marva Collins. She had the state-of-the-art school in Chicago, the heart of the hood, and turned it around big time. Now look at our kids. And when I say the enemy is within, the enemy is within and wreaking havoc.
So please let people know, like you did mention the name a few times, Marva Collins. Who is Marva Collins? And what was Marva Collins able to do in the public school system in Chicago? Like, explain to the people here what that's about. Oh, she dropped off. So I'm telling you, we both got technical difficulties today. I apologize for any of that. Let's see if she comes back in. And I'll invite some of you guys, if you got any questions that you want to ask her. Hold on, there she goes.
I apologize.
No, it's cool, because I know you got your phone. You're working with your phone, okay?
That put me
I get it. You ain't the only individual who's ever, had this go down in this space. But
we're good.
So we're gonna make do. We're gonna take shit and sugar and mix it together. We're gonna make some ice cream.
That's what we do.
Okay, so Tell us about who Marva Collins is and what
Doc,
she was. But why would you even reference her in relation to white teachers in the public school system? Because obviously they've studied what she's done. Okay, and from a theoretical standpoint, they might know what kind of impact she had. But
can't produce.
if yeah, so tell us what that's about.
Okay, Dr. Marva Collins. She's not a doctor, but she is to me. She was a substitute teacher and totally got tired and frustrated with seeing black children in the inner city of Chicago fail. So she decided to take her pension and she started her school in her apartment. And she taught those babies what all kind of Greek and everything, and they grasp it. We understand that there is nothing our kids cannot learn. They can learn anything. I say all the time, poverty is not equated to ability. Poverty is no money. Get over it. So um, poverty is nothing new. Lack is nothing new. All the reasons why these teachers today are quitting on our kids. It's nothing new. What, like I said, what's new is what Marva Collins produced back then versus what they don't have to produce today. And majority of the teachers in our schools throughout America are white women. So after the college scandal and seeing how they are just handed access as opportunity and don't have to really study for it, learn about the children you're teaching, that just speaks volumes. With Marva Collins, I mean, she was a mom too. She had black babies, and we aren't afraid of our black children. We just not, so
That might be the case for you, okay? But I know some black teachers who have some pretty ignorant and flippant things to say about the children whom they are educating. Now, I'm in the area of education. I'm in that ballpark, okay? And I think some of the black teachers are male and female. But I mean, at the end of the day, this is bigger than a job. It's a vocation. You have to
right,
be called to education for a reason. There's not a lot of money in it. I know a lot of
right,
white women go into it because it's easy to get a degree in education. They say,
and
I can go here and get this degree and I can do good in the world and all of this. Okay,
right.
but to me, it's almost it's a salvific. What I mean by that is these people feel like they're going to be saviors
Right.
until they actually put their feet on the ground in the soil and they see what's actually going on there. They can't wait to get the hell out of there
Yeah.
when the bell rings. It's time to go.
Yeah.
It's time to get the hell out of here. It's time for me to go back to Webster Groves, to
Yep.
Ladue. It's time for me to go, to the Hill, if that's where they stay in one of them places where the Italians are, or it's time for me to go to Creve Coeur. I'm getting the fuck out of here.
And I've had conversations about, clubs and activities. Because, our kids come in with all kind of gifts. And they not gonna be in the hood when it get dark. But on payday, you cool. These are the same children. The reason you getting a check, right? And they still don't have it. And it's just a disservice all around. And yet, and still, just like us in America, we pay for it. Our children actually pay them to come in and hurt and harm and fail them. And that's just it. Just shouldn't be cool with us as a people. They're our future. Orlando, he could have been great if he had someone that cared about him, or his livelihood or the death of his parents. It's and we've gotten detached from caring, even for our babies.
But isn't that one of the things that they tell teachers to do is to be detached, to not get too personally involved
Yep,
in
yep,
what's going on with the lives of the students? Isn't
yep,
that one of the things that they basically they profess to you? Don't get too attached. Do your job. There's only so much you can do. You are not responsible for,
yep,
solving the ills of the black community,
yep.
right? I mean,
They
especially for a white woman coming into the ghetto in order to teach. Okay, but then
Yep.
the question to me is, why are you doing it anyway? Like, but black people have, as a whole, I think we've handed over education of our children to people who really don't have the best for us in mind. I'm just being honest. Like, but
I
how did it come to pass that during segregation we had some of the best schools and it produced some of the best black minds that have
yep.
ever existed, but immediately after the civil rights era, we got seduced by the promise of integration and moving up the economic ladder and being able to compete and to socialize with white folks. And I think that was a necessary movement at the time. But was it necessary for us to give up our institutions? See, this is the problem I have. And you tell me if you agree or you disagree.
Okay.
Why are we living in predominantly black areas, but then we have white people who are the administrators of the major institutions where we live?
I've been asking that same question.
So, like, take for instance Ferguson, Missouri,
Hmm.
predominantly black area. Why didn't black people control the police force? Why aren't black people the administrators and the mayors or the city administrators? Why are they not running that city themselves? How can you be a majority of the population of a geological or metropolitan area, but you don't have any stewardship over any of the institutions there? Everybody else has stewardship of the institutions. That's
Well, when you
that's a that's a question that needs to be asked.
well, I mean, when we were actually living in the community. We weren't saying one thing and hopping on the highway next to Amy, Bobby, and Becky. We were literally in our community. I obviously felt like the grass was green on the other side. We no longer live amongst our own, or those who is, they are basically robbing the community, hurting the community. So, we have picked up that vicious and malicious mindset that the enemy has had towards our own people. I, to my knowledge, at least when I was younger, I didn't think the majority of the people felt that way, but I don't know.
I just
And
I
we
just
go,
wanna I just wanna let
go
people know, man, that like Terrell 2002 says he didn't get the notification. I'm on shadow ban, okay? I got a copyright strike for a video I did not too long ago, and then recently I made some videos dealing with the subject matter of Kanye West and Kyrie Irving. So I've been talking about anti-Semitism and all of these kind of issues, and so that's not really actually making me popular right now uh, on the YouTube streets, okay? Uh, but what ended up happening is we lost our connection to each other.
right. Yep.
We lost the concept of we being we.
Yep.
It became about me being me. I gotta do me. So the ambition was, I want a house out in North County. That was the initial desire. Now I can't, look, I'm not here to talk about people's personal motivations. I mean, people only want to do what's best for them and their family, okay? and I get it. But
Well,
my
okay, hold
mother,
on, wait. Excuse
huh?
me. Why is it that when we say that or feel that way, it's it's always around white people?
Well, say that one more time. Say it again.
Why is it that we say that or feel like that? It's normally around white people. Because I have some teacher friends, and I never forget a conversation we had. And she was like, "It seemed like you upset because we wanted something better." I'm thinking, we grew up in East St. Louis, so you just content with making them richer quicker because everything you do in their community, money going back to them. Because you ain't doing nothing but just saying, "I live here," because everything else you're doing outside of there. You know what I'm saying? So for us, it's like, well, at least I ain't in East St. Louis no more. Who thinks like that? But I guess I see the
But you
benefit
know the
of.
history of East St. Louis, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the riots that took place there.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't black people rioting.
Right.
It was white people rioting.
Right.
Because that was a burgeoning, upscale black area.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay? And white people, they got pissed off, just like they did Tulsa, Oklahoma,
Oh. Mm-hmm.
just like they did Rosewood. They burned it down.
Yeah.
They burned it down and displaced hundreds of people, hundreds of families, and took over property. That area hasn't recovered yet.
You're right.
It has not recovered yet. And it may never recover. I mean, it may be left alone. Okay? Now, I'm just speaking the facts. Okay? Now, if you know anything about East St. Louis, go check out or do a search on what's cracking or what's happening in the city of East St. Louis, Illinois, and what happened, what was the cause of the riots, and what happened after the riots to black people in that area. Okay? Now, as far as I'm concerned, most cities, I'm not trying to give credit to other cities or other geographical locations because they have
Mm-hmm.
their own unique problems.
Right.
But I've never been in an area where it's a bi-state area and there are two downtown areas centered around a river. I've never seen it such that one area near a major river
Mm-hmm.
is undeveloped or underdeveloped while the other is developed to the extreme. You got the arch on one side,
Yep.
and then you got strip clubs and shit on the other side,
And the abandoned building.
and abandoned buildings. Now you have, they put a casino adjacent to, the main street that runs parallel to the Mississippi River. I can't remember what the name of the street is. I used to ride down it, huh?
Isn't it Fifth Street or something?
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember, but the point is that area is absolutely undeveloped.
Yep.
I've never seen anything like that in my life in any other city or urban area I've been to. Never. Never seen anything like it.
Yep.
And Ray S says, what's so bad about East St. Louis? Well, what's so bad about East St. Louis is that it's a bunch of black people concentrated in poverty. And it was made that way because of rioting that took place. And that area was never able to recover. That's the problem. That's the issue. And it's not really, to be quite frank, I would argue that East St. Louis is safer than North St. Louis. I guarantee you that. Because at least the people in East St. Louis, everybody knows everybody.
Mm-hmm.
There is it's so small that there is no way that every family there doesn't know in some way the other family. It's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But in St. Louis, that condition does not obtain. Okay? You might not know who lives on the south side. You might not know who lives, in another neighborhood in the north side. Somebody from O'Fallon in the O'Fallon Park area might not know somebody, down where Woles is. Okay? That's just the way the city is set up. The north side of St. Louis is larger than East St. Louis, Illinois. It just is what it is. Okay.
Right.
But getting back to this boy, man, there are a lot of people today who would argue that this boy, like most of the black boys, are just time bombs ticking, innately problematic, somehow inferior naturally, can't quite get it together, can't quite pick themselves up. Now, this boy got a hold of a weapon, okay? And it's the people who were his guardians, his family members, found out about the gun and took it from him, okay? But then,
Hold on. They said, I read, ask the cops to come and get it. No, one of the officers said. And they said no. So they turned it over to a family member.
okay, so what I'm saying is inaccurate. So exactly what did happen with this gun?
Well, I mean, I wasn't there. I was reading articles.
Right,
So
right.
that an officer said that they had gone out to the house like October the 15th. The mom, well, his caregiver had called like on the 15th and asked officers to come in and, get these guns out of her house. And according to the article, they couldn't. So they turned it over to another family member or whatever. So I don't know if the other family member was in the home or not. But he somehow got him back.
But I mean, but everybody keeps saying that he was he wasn't a bad kid.
Right. Well,
I mean,
I have read one of his middle school teachers said that he was bully bad. So it kind of makes sense because if he was in middle school, that's what's that, 11, 12? So
right.
around the time he probably lost his mom and his dad. So with the enemy inside, there is no compassion. There is no, well, let's put our arms around our student because they're in need, because that's the wrong zip code for that. So it could have been a lot of taunting and just mean-spirited stuff that our kids do today that we probably would have never done in a teacher's class. So, and I can see how that's just festering, and he just exploded. We can say tough skin and all this other stuff, but if we don't want to address the teacher, because a teacher will have command in her room. A black teacher have command in her room. We don't tolerate some of everything and anything. I mean, the real black teachers.
Hold on, wait a minute. You're saying there's a difference? You got some phony ones there?
Oh, yeah. We got some skin folks that's not kin folks. We got some black people who love to write up our children. They
turn
forgot.
Right over to the system, right?
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, because like you said, they're there because this a check. I've had someone tell me, "Hey, this my job. I got a family," and I'm thinking, but this kid, you not know this kid is probably dealing with, this, that, or the other. We don't have time to process and worry about that today. And that's the sad part.
Yeah, that is sad. I mean, look, my whole thing is, if you're a black person and you go into education, especially if you're going into secondary or you're going into elementary education, you have to know what you're contending with. You got to know what you're dealing with. You already know before you step foot into the area what you're dealing with.
Right.
You already know. Okay, and it is a job. You have to be professional, but also you have to understand that that's more than a job. That's a vocation. You have kids didn't ask to be here, man. You know what I'm saying? Kids don't ask to be they don't ask to come here. But we got to deal with them while they are here. and we got to make sure we give them the best that we can give them while they're here. And maybe if we say or do something in order to help them, it might turn them around from a life of crime or from doing something like Orlando Harris did. You never know the impact you have. Okay,
Right.
you never know the impact you have. My whole issue with the school system is, especially for black boys, I've said this before, I think black boys need education specific to themselves. Like, I think that they need boys only education, especially in the black neighborhoods. I think they need boys only education, single sex schools, so that their problems, whatever unique problems they got, whether they're bullying, girls are an issue amongst boys at the school when they're just going to school together. Okay.
Right.
And the teachers the faculty would have to a large degree, be male. And not to say that women aren't, some women, you can't say all of them, but some women like yourself, you actually give a fuck. You actually care. But a lot of these people don't care at all. They're just there to put their time in and get the hell on, and then it's, back to their regular lives. But I know several school teachers in the city of St. Louis, and they know what it's like. They know. And they care, but they feel like, damn, I'm at a disadvantage. It's only so much of me to be able to go around. I'm making the biggest difference I can. But the largest difference is the administration, who's in charge of it, right? The principals, the superintendents, and the school board.
Right.
Primarily, who are they?
White.
Yeah, and look, Ray S. brings up a point. So the guy basically says, look, I have no friends, I have no family, and no girlfriend. And he says he probably needed to move somewhere or join the military. They cut off military service for us. So, you're dealing with a boy that lost his mother and his father. You're dealing with a boy who is socially awkward. He's been basically, diagnosed with a mental illness, whether or not he really actually had a mental illness or not. See, one of the things that is the elephant in the room in the black community that nobody talks about is the trauma.
Right.
And the depression that a lot of black people have, especially black people who are living in those inner city environments. Okay. It's not a tight-knit community where everyone knows everyone or really actually cares for everyone. Okay. It's an environment in which, in many ways, you have to fend for yourself. You got to look out for yourself or get eaten by wolves. So you're dealing with a boy who no friendship is essential to your soul. A friend can tell you, and I'm in a fraternity that extols the virtue of friendship. Life isn't worth living if you don't have friends and people you can talk to discuss the problems you have and the joys and the pains that you feel. This boy had nobody to turn to. And the only thing he can remember was his resentment with the public school system.
Yep.
He says, I have no friends. I never had a girlfriend. See, there are a lot of people in this culture right now who would like to basically say that it was his, and they say it in a joking manner. He was involuntarily celibate. So this is the kind of things that guys like him do.
Wow.
Like he didn't have access to love. He was a reject. And so they're dangerous. And we have to, and a lot of people claim that this space grooms people like Orlando Harris. But I would argue quite the opposite. Orlando Harris was groomed in the institutions of the United States of America. That's where he was groomed.
Right.
He wasn't groomed. He wasn't groomed in a space like the manosphere. Because we would have told him, look here, brother, get your money right, get your head right, keep your head down, be as stoic as you possibly can. Know that the system does not work to your benefit, but find a way to benefit from the system as best as you possibly can. Now, I can't say that everybody in this space says that, we need to be bridge builders or torch passers, but I think that, to some degree, at least in this space or a space like this, we can vent.
Right.
We can speak about the issues and the problems we have. We don't have to keep them bottled up inside, even if they aren't popular, even if they sound horrendous to people. It's a space where we can basically work through our emotions and purge ourselves so that we can get ready to be about the business of doing the best we can one day after the next day. Mm-hmm. This man didn't have any of this. This boy. He didn't have any of that. No friends, just imagine living in the world without your mother's, your father's, your brother's, or your sister's love. And you just pushing through it all. One of the biggest elephants in the room is Black depression.
Man.
Black depression. Let me show you something real quick. Let me share this screen. I hope it will share because can you see that? I know you can't see it because you're looking at your phone. But I assume that you can see that. Why do Black men hide mental illness? Studies show that 1 in 10 Black men is living with depression, but experts believe many more are struggling in silence. Here's how you can help. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that happens to Black boys is that we get told, man up. Ain't no room for feelings for you. Do you understand what I mean?
Okay, may I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying, and to some point agree. But we're living in a country where America don't see our humanity. Do we have the space to be considered not to man up?
I mean, we can man up, but I mean, I'm not a fucking Superman. Do you understand what I'm saying? And you're a woman, so you wouldn't understand. If I'm not saying you don't have the capacity to understand, but let's just be frank about this. Yeah. The understanding of masculinity is that everything is supposed to roll off your back. You ain't supposed to undergo pain. And if you do talk about your pain, motherfuckers don't want to hear it because then you acting like a bitch ass nigga. Right. Why you crying? What you crying for? What you got a problem for? That ain't man-like. I'm just saying, like, I experienced it myself. And men do it to each other. Mm-hmm. Okay? Women do it to men. Like, if you, God forbid, you share some tears. The only time that Black men are allowed to shed tears is when over their dead homie's body. Or if a family member dies. That's it. We're human beings. Yeah, we got to toughen up to deal with the situation, but god damn. I mean, for crying out loud. Not nobody, even like when a boy is 6 or 7 years old, he's told to man up. What you crying for? Why you?
Now, okay.
Don't be a little bitch. Like, I'm just saying, let me just say, I got to say it because it's the truth. Like I was raised by a single mother. I mean, my father was around, thank God. But the whole point is, Little boys have feelings too. And they aren't allowed to give full range and expression to their emotions. I'm just
Okay, so
saying.
now
I'm
I wanted to share something because I lost my husband last year of COVID, and he came into my son's life when he was 4. And when I tell you, I mean, if my son or the girls did something, he cried. And one day he just got tired of me, and he was like, "No, I don't have the dysfunction. You're dysfunctional." Because I'm looking at him like this big old 400 some pound man up here crying because, our son is playing the drums. But he was proud. And he was like, what you're saying that needs to happen. And I'm the total opposite. You can't pay me to cry. Well, I look at you like you stupid. I mean, because America have us this hard. But when you're raising your kids, it's like you have to prepare them for this country. How you how you do it?
but you know what? Sometimes when you become so hard, you get calcified. You know what that means? Like you can become so hard
Mhm.
and numb, but really inside you crying all day, every goddamn day.
Yup, you're right.
I mean, the whole point is you gotta have catharsis. You gotta have a release. If it's nothing but tension and everybody wants to be so goddamn rough and tough, you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Then look, I understand we gotta be resilient, but it
Right.
doesn't mean that we have to be inhuman.
Mm,
Do you get what I'm saying?
yes, I
Like,
do.
it, I've seen, like, I'll watch a movie and cry. It was stupid, but I mean the movie evokes an
Mm,
emotional, that's what the movie is intended for. To evoke an emotional response. I'm human, I can commiserate with the character, and so therefore I'm not gonna just sit there and fucking not be able to work through my day because of it. But I
right.
am a human being, so the narrative can touch me in a specific kind of way. Okay? Not it doesn't mean that you wallow in self-pity, but
Right.
you do allow yourself to go through the full scope and the range of human emotions. That's what you do. I
Well,
mean,
that's that's learned. I mean, not only learn, but told that it, like you're saying, told that it is okay. I mean, we got second graders coming in, like I said, like I was raised, and now, now that I know a different way, I kind of teach them, how to let some of that stuff go. But
so so
second graders,
but look, so the article goes on to say, you would think that today, 2022,
mhm,
there's a lot of talk about mental health and so on and so forth, right? And
right,
yeah, we came a long way, but there's still uh, you know, a problem for African Americans understanding that, they got some emotional, psychological, and some social problems. And then not only just that, any human being would have those problems,
mhm,
but it's compounded with the institutional pressure that a lot of us experience in the United States. We're a
right,
minority group. We're often marginalized and ostracized. Even though many of us even deny that, refuse to admit it,
mhm,
refuse to acknowledge it. Now, I'm not saying that, every white person you meet has just got it in for you, but I mean, like a lot of them, they just don't have, they can be apathetic without feeling that it's problematic. Okay.
right.
But black boys have more depression probably than any other demographic. Okay. And it's taboo to really talk about it, and we
Mhm,
suffer from it silently. And one of the things, we can talk about slavery as the article does, segregation, the Jim Crow era, but we're not there right now, but we're in a new form of it, okay?
Right.
I call it, we're emerging from the mass incarceration era and moving into the, reverse racism era is what I call it. Because now everywhere a white person is saying our company, our values aren't like, hate inspired. We treat everybody like an individual. We have no malice towards anyone. So that's the rhetoric that they can utilize now. When you, as a group of persons who suffer from historical disenfranchisement, when you show or express indignation at the system or the people who do nothing, who move nothing to change it, okay? But anyway, Black men are always taught to not let people see them suffering. So we hide it, internalize it, and don't talk about it. It comes from a long tradition of oppression, and a result of that, anxiety and depression, which is often misinterpreted in our community as a sign of weakness. And denial is a defense mechanism to hide that hurt.
Right.
So, I mean, I can go into more depth, but the reality is, if you cry or you come with a problem, if you say that you have an issue, a lot of times, and thank God I don't have friends like this. I don't know where I would be if I had friends who would be like, man, shut up. Don't, like, hey, you can't cry. Like when my mother died, I cried. They wasn't like, come on, man, you got to straighten up. You can't be weak. They was like, man. I mean, my frat brothers and everybody was there. So it was like, and my girlfriend at the time was there. My ex-girlfriend was there. My baby mamas was there. I'm just saying, this is reality, though. This is Black life. We don't act like we don't know we know what it is. Okay? But a lot of times we don't act as if having a full range of emotions is normal. It is considered to be a weakness. Now, it's one thing to stay stuck in the same emotion and to never get away from it. But to not even acknowledge that you're having the emotion and having the intelligence to understand that you're having the emotion in the first place and to just suppress it. That's a problem. Because what ends up happening is you explode.
Yep.
You explode. So, quite frankly, if I had to interpret Orlando Harris and what he was going through in his response to it, I think that what he was doing at that moment, when he entered that school, he was committing an act of suicide.
Yep.
That was, his intention was to die, but to take others along with him. Because a lot of times when boys commit acts of suicide, they do so violently. And then we can say, oh, well, it's all because of, the patriarchy and all this other bullshit. No, it's because this little dude has not been allowed to be, he hasn't been able to go through a process of catharsis in the community in which he comes from. So his deep-seated emotional problems never actually get solved. And you can't expect for kids to solve them.
Right.
How's a 17 or 18-year-old going to help a boy that lost his parents?
Yep.
How is he going to be, how are they going to be equipped to help them? We just recently, we see black boys, man. And I think at the root of it all is a deep-seated depression. We over the slightest insult, we ready to kill.
Yep.
And black women are that way too. I've seen some with knives and guns. Where I come from, I've seen some stabbing, some windows bust out of cars. You know, I've seen cat fights, the whole nine. I've seen all of it. Okay.
Yeah.
And I look, I understand Ray S. You know, look, I am in a fraternity, but can some, you know, people in fraternities be sellouts? Of course they can. But initially it wasn't that way. Initially it wasn't that way. It wasn't all about self-aggrandizement. It wasn't all about showing that I am better than the members of my community. It was about uplifting the community as they climbed.
Right.
That was the initial impetus behind it. But then, you know, like anything, no institution is perfect. It has to be maintained, and the goals and the objectives of the institution have to change to adjust to what's happening right here and now. So the camaraderie in the fraternity shouldn't be utilized in order to demonstrate superiority over other people. Actually, it's supposed to be service-based. Like, you got to think about MLK. He was a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. You can't say the man was on some bullshit. Now, he might have been, I mean, you know, but he was dedicated to working in black people's behalf. Can't deny that. And he died for it. Yep. Okay? So, you know, we got a lot of issues, you know, and the school system is not helping. The school system is turned into a means by which to monitor, to surveil, and to siphon black people towards other more punitive institutions. That's just the fact. That's the facts. Okay? And a lot of people say, well, you know, if women are free, then, you know, we have a more just society. But if you got a whole bunch of white women in positions and their safety and their development and their pensions and their paychecks are the only concern.
Yep.
If that's the only concern, then we got a problem. But, and then Ray S., you got to also understand this. Because I'm responding to some comments, right, that I'm seeing. And you can call in or come in if you want to ask her and me a question. We've been on for 1 hour and 22 minutes. And I'm not going to hold her all night. She looked like she been dealing with kids all day. I know you're tired.
I'm sitting out here waiting on my daughter to come out of her driving car.
But it's man, what we gotta do is the impossible. And we've been doing it, but these women, man, that control these institutions, we gotta take our institutions back. And nobody's willing to actually do that. And it's going to be difficult because there's a vested interest in these people maintaining their positions within the inside of these institutions. They have unions that protect them. They have with a contingent of lawyers that protect them.
But when it comes to that, even at seeing generational failure, I mean, black people still have not, like, collectively gotten together. I don't know if you saw the case in Detroit, Michigan. Family sued the school district for the right to read. Do you know they said you don't have a right to read? Eventually, they was given millions, but it's like, my child do not know how to read, and they graduated, and they sued.
But you know what? One of the things we got to be, and I'm gonna say this might be alarming for me to say.
Sure.
Okay. But you can't expect for that institution to teach our kids, man. We can't expect for the school system to teach our kids, man. We just can't. And if you feel like the school system is a babysitter for you while you go off to work. And I ain't saying all parents are like that, but it's a good amount of them that are. Okay.
Right.
And they feel like the responsibility is primarily on the institution, which is, by the way, not really actually governed and administered by people like us who actually care about kids.
Right.
So if you expect for that institution to create the kind of child that you actually are primarily responsible for creating, then you got a problem right off the bat. Now, I ain't saying that these parents are all dropping the ball, but I mean, you know, we got to place some responsibility on them as well. You know,
I'm against that.
I know you are, but I mean, look, here's the reason why. If we know you, it seems like you. I ain't gonna say woke because I don't like the connotation of the term woke right now. I just don't like it. Okay, but it seems like you're aware about the problems inherent in the public school system throughout the United States, especially in urban areas that are impoverished.
Right.
If you are a black person, you got to be aware enough to understand that this institution is not the best institution to cultivate your child into the kind of child that you want to move and push forward and live exuberantly and to flourish in this society. Do you get what I'm saying? You have to understand, and it's a shame. It's a shame. Should teachers care more? Yeah. But we know, so this is the difference I'm making. I'm making a difference between what ought to be and what is, and how to adjust to what actually is. We didn't hand it over education. Quite frankly, we gave over the education of our children to white women.
Yep.
And let me tell you this. Let me explain something to you. Hold on, let me show you something. Reservations. I hope I can find these images. I can't, it's not coming right, it's not pulling right up. But it, you know, they probably will at some point. Damn, I can't find what I'm looking for. Racism. Maybe it'll come up then. But, yeah, I can't find what I'm looking for right now. But at one point, they basically, the primary indoctrinators in this culture, let's just be quite frank about it. White women, man. Mm-hmm. It just is what it is. But everybody's giving them a pass. Because they're an oppressed group. They're a minority group now. They make up the majority of the population. They're the second wealthiest demographic in the country, but they're a minority.
When it's convenient.
I mean, you know, it is what it is. Right. They are a minority population in the country. That's, I mean, how they're labeled and categorized. Do I hate these people? No. But they don't understand us, man. They should not be the stewards of our children's education.
At all.
But if you think that you can send your kid off over into those places, in those spaces, and that you're going to get
a scholar
chocolate ice cream, I'm telling you, what you're going to get. I ain't going to say there ain't no good white women teachers. Not going to say that. I knew a few, okay? Because, like, I mean, even though I'd use educated, ignorant means of expressing myself. You know, like I get ghetto and then I move into cerebral and go back and forth. I oscillate. But I know basic subject verb agreement. I know it. You understand? I'm able to articulate myself. Huh?
I say
Go ahead.
code switch.
I can code switch, but I can speak in graduated terms if I want to. Okay, a lot of our kids don't even have the ability or the capacity to do that, and those that do get stigmatized.
Right.
They get called, you know, Oreos and nerds and Poindexters, right? As if, you know, being educated is a bad thing. So we got problems, we got issues all across the board, man. We got some deep-seated problems, okay? And I know, you know, we got to talk more about this. You know, at some point you got to come back on, man, and, you know, talk about it again. But, you know, we're not going to be able to solve all these issues in one sitting. It's just impossible. But I do appreciate you having some care and concern for what happened to this young boy, because we always look at the result.
Right.
But we never look at what contributed or what led up to the result that we have.
Correct.
You know, I got to go back to Tupac on this one. The hate you gave, you know, little infants fucks everyone.
Yep. And I got one.
Go ahead.
It says, I forgot.
Oh, hell no. No, you can't.
To feel its warmth.
There you go. You know.
That's right.
There you go. That old African proverb.
Yes, sir.
So I can say, you know, thank you for coming and having a conversation. We got off to a kind of a rocky start precisely because I was experiencing some technical difficulties, as were you. But I'm glad that you know, you were able to come on and give your opinion.
Thank you.
And to express yourself and to, you know, bring some attention to these issues. Is there anything you want to leave us with?
Let us come together and get our babies and start our own school. Okay.
You got people trying to do it, you know, like there are people who are trying to do it. And, you know, I think you're going to get white interference. You know, but I will say this. I think that your answer is correct. But understand that they will try to run interference. There's too much money in it for them. They make money off our misery.
I know.
They make money they know how much money they're going to get, whether or not Orlando can read or not.
Yep.
They know how much money to invest into a prison cell as opposed to a university education. And the funny thing about it is, it costs less money to send a kid to college than to keep him in prison for 15, 20 years.
Yep. You're right.
That's the thing about it, you know. Costs less money to educate and to develop than it does to incarcerate and to incapacitate.
And this is why the whole pre-K pipeline is, I mean, this is just all lucrative. I mean, and it's just crazy. These people are just sick. They're sick. So.
Yeah, hey, look, you know, you ain't gonna get no disagreement on me there. But you know, right now, it's a lot of funny things going on in this culture, man, to where they're pushing back. They're getting rid of critical race theory, which is basically detailing, you know, what's actually occurring or what has occurred in the United States. They've given us the whitewashed version of civil rights. I just saw not a documentary, but an interview from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. today, and he was talking about how black people were enslaved for 250 years, and at the same time that was occurring, white people were being given millions of acres of land.
Mm-hmm.
And they were being given an economic floor. But on the other hand, the United States refused to invest in the people whom it squeezed for labor, extracted resources from the most. So now they give us freedom, but they give us no subsidy. They give each other the subsidies and make sure that they have an economic floor, but then they ask us to fend for ourselves. So our freedom essentially is famine.
Yeah.
We have the freedom for famine. And I'm going to do, maybe tomorrow I might, do a show and I'm going to just like go through that interview, the audio of it, and respond to it. But it's a lot of black people, man, who, don't believe that there's any sense of togetherness to be had between us anymore, ever. Just like this it's all gone. There's some people who believe that, okay? We got a lot of problems. It's a lot of problems.
Oh, wow.
A lot. So, but thank you, miss. Thank you for coming on the show. And you're welcome anytime. Whether we agree or disagree, but you're always welcome to come on back.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Take it easy.
You too.
All right. Well, folks, we've come to the end. I didn't even think this was going to get off tonight, but thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for coming, Marshata. And thank y'all for joining. It's Gigi, man. I'll holler at y'all on the next one. I think tomorrow what I want to do is read a paper. And Tareb, you're exactly right. We taught them how to use the land. We built colleges, land grant colleges like Texas A&M, agricultural and mechanical, so they could learn how to plant the crops and to use machinery in order to nurture the crops. What did we get? We didn't get nothing, man. We didn't get shit. So, it is what it is. So, but I think I'm going to go through that tomorrow. I think that'll be worth doing. Or maybe sometime, before the end of the month. Because, but I'm on shadow ban, folks. So I need your support right now. I'm on shadow ban. Deep, deep shadow ban. So holler at your boy, man. I'll holler at y'all on the next one. Peace.